All right, well, get ready. Get a nice comfortable seat in the saddle, so to speak, and this might be a long one. I've got over 20 tweets from yesterday's incident with Comrade Joe Carter. Comrade Joe Carter is one of the main editors for Gospel Coalition. So as you imagine, he might have some beef with some of the content that I produce because I am very critical of the Gospel Coalition. In fact, I think the world would be a better place if the Gospel Coalition did not exist. And so, we got into a little bit of a Twitter beef, and it's very interesting. Now, I've got my little Joe Carter saga folder here on my desktop, and I'm going to start going through some of these tweets, and then I'm going to tell you sort of what I'm going to do with this when we're done here. But this is a very interesting conversation. I think, one thing I'll tell you at the outset that I got a lot of DMs from people. I got a lot of messages from people, and a lot of them were from people who actually aren't sympathetic to the content that I produce. They don't like my style. They don't like a lot of what I say, but they were reaching out to me and saying like, dude, I'm sorry he's doing this to you. I'm sorry he's trying to hurt you like this. And I'm okay. I mean, listen, it's going to be difficult to cancel me. I mean, you can definitely do it. But I work for myself. I'm obviously not going to fire myself. And I'm supported by brothers and sisters in Christ on Patreon as well. So it's going to be difficult to get them to stop supporting me if they agree with the message and stuff like that. So it's not impossible to cancel me, but this isn't going to work on me most likely. So people were apologizing for it, and it's okay. Don't feel bad for me. This is part of the job, right? But I want to talk to you about what I'm going to do with this. Joe Carter has made a number of accusations against me intended to hurt me. This is libel. This is actual libel. I don't know if I could prove damages in court, but even if I could, I wouldn't sue him because I'm a Christian, and I'm not going to sue other Christians over this kind of thing. But the reality is that this is libel, and this could really hurt someone. And Joe Carter doesn't just treat me this way. He treats almost everybody who questions him in this way. Everything is a reframe. Everything is a trap. He's trying to trap you in your words. It is extremely crazy behavior. And then what he does is he deletes all of his tweets almost. So it's very difficult to follow the logic of the conversation. So when he's proven wrong, he typically deletes the tweets and says something like this. I sinned because I got into an argument with you. I knew that this was a waste of time. That was my big sin. When in reality, the big sin is that he actually lies about people with the intent to hurt those people. And so he gets all high and mighty, gets his robes on, deletes the evidence, and then he thinks that makes it okay, but it doesn't make it okay, obviously. And everyone who's smart, who interacts with Joe Carter at this point, should screenshot everything because he will delete everything. And so what you're about to see might be a little bit out of order, and that's, unfortunately, it's just how it is, because normally I just go scroll through my Twitter log and it'd be in order. I can't do that because he's deleted all of his tweets. And so if this is out of order, it's not intentional, but I'm trying to give you sort of the clearest picture of what happened so that you can see it for yourself. But again, remember, people that are not sympathetic with me could easily see that Joe Carter was lying about me, and so there it is. So anyway, here's how it started. So Gospel Coalition posted an article. Joe Carter is an editor at Gospel Coalition, so they posted one of his articles about how dangerous ideas spread these days. And the ideas that he was saying are dangerous are Holocaust denial and neo-Nazism. He wants to explore how dangerous ideas spread, and the case study is Holocaust denials and neo-Nazism. Right? Now, I think that Gospel Coalition itself is a dangerous organization that spreads dangerous ideas. I've dedicated my YouTube channel to this idea, right? So if you know my content, you know that I would say that Gospel Coalition is one of the ways that one of the things that spreads dangerous ideas. And it's interesting, they spread the dangerous ideas in very similar ways to how Holocaust denial and neo-Nazism is spread, which is so interesting. So I just retweeted it, and this is really not that spicy of a take. I mean, guys, you follow me on Twitter, you know some of my takes are way spicier than this. This is just kind of innocuous. And I said, allow me to give you 5 more things fueling dangerous beliefs in America. Gospel Coalition, ERLC, the liberal half of the PCA, the liberal half of the SBC, and Comrade Joe Carter. Little bit of a zing, not that big a deal. So Joe Carter interprets this message as this. Here's what he says to me. Ready? Why does it not surprise me that you've provided cover for Holocaust denialism and neo-Nazism and equate them with those who are more theologically conservative than you are? Now, this is the first tweet, and it is also the first lie. Now, what you'll find in these tweets is that almost without exception, every tweet contains a lie in it. Joe is an expert at reframing what you've said, kind of like that woman in the Jordan Peterson interview where everything that he said, she would reframe to make it sound as ridiculous as possible. Joe Carter does that as well. This is called propaganda. Some people were telling me that Joe Carter really appears like he's a trained propagandist. That would actually fit very nicely with some of my thoughts about Joe Carter's possible identity. But, that's just speculation, so we're going to leave that alone. But if you notice, I did not provide cover for Holocaust denialism or neo-Nazism in this tweet. But Joe Carter assigned both of those things to me. And if you notice, I also didn't equate them with those who are more theologically conservative than you are. But Joe Carter claims that I did. In fact, this tweet actually makes it clear that I actually think I'm more conservative than the liberal half of the PCA and the liberal half of the SBC. I specifically called them out for their liberalism in my tweet. And yet Joe Carter frames it as people that are more theologically conservative than I am. This is an accusation that is untrue, but he didn't even attempt to prove it, and it flies in the face of what the tweet actually says. I actually specifically called out liberalism as opposed to conservatism. And so let this set the tone. This is how every tweet essentially goes, something that I say is reframed to make Joe appear on top or better than me. Now, I think tweets like this, they're troubling to some people, but I don't really care about this. This is just an accusation that, it's a matter of opinion. Is Joe Carter more conservative than I am? Well, it depends on who you are, right? I think definitively I am more conservative than Joe Carter, but that's okay. This is not actually what I think the libel is, though. So we'll continue because it gets way worse from here. But let this set the tone. This is the first tweet that he took exception with. So here's where the libel starts, right? The libel starts, let's see here. I don't know what that sound was supposed to be. Here we go. So this is the first part where I started to say, this is getting serious. So I want to really start, screen capturing these tweets. This is where I started doing it. He says this. He says, he's quote tweeting something. He says, if your response to, quote, we should be concerned about Holocaust denialism and Americans who support neo-Nazism is, but Big Eva supports critical theory, you're probably revealing more about yourself than you intended. Now, obviously, this is not what my tweet said, but that's okay. Joe Carter's habit is lying. Now, this person here, this is a person who has blocked me. His name is Mike Cosper. And Mike Cosper asks a question about who's doing this essentially or something like that. I can't see it because Mike Cosper has blocked me. Mike Cosper is the poster child for soy boy evangelicalism. But anyway, here is what Joe Carter responds to Mike Cosper. Here is where he's done it. And then when I ask Robles if he endorses Holocaust denial, he won't give a straight answer. So you'll see he actually is referring to my tweet where I say nothing about critical race theory, but he says that I did because of my tweet, which makes me understand that Joe Carter is actually familiar with my content, despite the fact that he's claimed many times he doesn't watch my content. Another lie, obviously. But if you notice, I say nothing about critical race theory here. Plus, Holocaust denialism. I won't give a straight answer. He won't give a straight answer. Now, here's the thing. So that you might not know where he's coming from with this Holocaust denial. I didn't give him a straight answer to it. And here's his evidence that I won't give him a straight answer to Holocaust denialism. He posts a screen cap of my tweet out of context, and it says this. It says, I know you get off on thinking that everyone you speak to is stupider than you, and that it'll be so easy to trap them with imprecise claims and accusations, but I won't be trapped by your weasel words, Joe. This looks pretty damning. It looks like I wouldn't answer a straight question about Holocaust denialism. And so you might be thinking, well, AD, what's your problem? Why can't you just deny that you're a Holocaust denier, right? Well, here's why I couldn't. Because the actual question is this. He says this. He asks me, so, do you agree with your followers that responded to your tweet that Holocaust denial is merely alternative history? Now, I don't trust Joe at all with framing things correctly because the very first tweet that he tweeted at me was framed incorrectly. And so my question, my response to this is a ridiculous question because I don't know which follower you're referring to since you don't mention him by name. I don't know what he actually said, and therefore I don't know if you're accurately summarizing his beliefs that qualifies as Holocaust denial. Therefore, I can't answer until you start filling in the blanks. Now, this is reasonable because if you notice, he told Cosper that the question was, do I agree with Holocaust denial? But the actual question was, do you agree with your followers? And I don't know which follower he's talking about, right? So I didn't answer the question because it was a weasel question, because he's referring to a specific person. I don't know who he's referring to, nor do I know what the specific person said. And so I can't answer the question because I don't have the actual facts here. So then I ask him, just give me a straightforward question. Just a straightforward question. You'll get a straightforward answer because I'm not afraid to answer his questions. I just need to know what I'm being asked, right? So if you tell me about a nameless, faceless follower and what he said, and I don't know what he said, I'm not going to respond to that. I'm not an idiot. I'm not going to be trapped that way. And so he does ask a straightforward question. Here's what he says. Here's a straight question. Do you believe yourself, or do you support people who believe that the Holocaust, A, didn't happen, or B, was overstated? Now that is a straightforward question. I can easily answer that. I answered no. No, I do not believe that myself, nor do I support anyone who believes that. And that's it. No to both questions. Straightforward question, straightforward answer. So now he knows. Very early in this conversation, Joe Carter knows that I myself am not a Holocaust denier, nor do I support Holocaust deniers. Okay, so I ask him, leave the tweets up and issue an apology. Because he's already told Mike Cosper, along with all of his followers, in other words, that I'm a Holocaust denier and or I support Holocaust deniers, which I have flatly refused to admit to. I've said I do not do that. And Joe Carter, his response is that he's not going to issue an apology. So this is where it begins. This is where his deflecting begins. So he's asked me first he asked me a weasel question that I refused to answer. Then I said, I will answer a straightforward question. He asked the straightforward question, and I answer it the way that I believe. I don't believe in Holocaust denialism, nor do I believe that the Holocaust was overstated, nor do I support people who believe that. So he refuses. He says, no, I am not going to issue an apology. You pretended not to know what I meant by Holocaust denial until the issue started getting attention, and then you finally stopped playing games. I don't think you are that evil, but you are desperate for attention and afraid to lose followers. So this contains some more lies. So if you remember, the first question was about something my follower said, who again at this point is still nameless. I have no idea what he's talking about. I didn't answer that question, but he reframes that as me not answering a question about Holocaust denial, which, if you see the tweets that I've showed, that's not how it went down. Then he claims that the only reason I answered the question was because I don't want to lose followers, which is hilarious because I have more Twitter engagement than he did, and the very first thing that I did when I saw this was started retweeting it. I did want to get more attention to this because I saw what Joe Carter was doing here. He was libeling me, and I wanted everybody to see that he was libeling me. So I started bringing attention to this as much as I could, but he's reframing this as me not being able to answer a question, which I definitively answered, and trying to hide it from my followers, which is preposterous because I've retweeted it to everyone that I know. So I've answered his question, and he's refusing to apologize, even though definitively he was in the wrong at this point. So early on, he knows he's in the wrong. Let's see what happens, because I'm only on tweet 5, and I told you I have more than 20, so let's see how this goes. Okay. So, this is kind of my response, right? I responded to everything that I'm telling you. I basically told him in a tweet. I said, Joe, that's not how it went down. I said, you asked 2 straightforward questions, which I answered, and the rest were weasel questions, which I won't answer until they become more clear. To claim that I didn't want to draw attention is crazy since I brought attention to this. And so I'm still willing to answer the question about my follower. All he has to do is name him and show me the tweet, and I'll answer it. I'm not trying to hide answering questions from my followers. I make my followers angry all the time. I'm not afraid of that. But the point is, I'm not going to answer a question about a follower that's not named when it's not quoted, and just accept that Joe Carter has framed it correctly, because as you can see, he has a hard time framing things correctly. So Then he tells other people, like Cosper's not the only one he told. He started telling random people that I'm a Holocaust denier. Look at this tweet in particular. He says, Robles knows that Gospel Coalition has denounced critical race theory. And also, when asked to condemn Holocaust denialism, he answered that he didn't know what I meant. He's pathologically dishonest. And I said, no, Joe, that's not how it went down. You asked me if I agree with my followers' Holocaust denial. Without telling me what this unnamed follower actually said, how am I supposed to answer a question about a specific person's specific beliefs without knowing their beliefs, Joe? And his response to this is interesting. He must think I have low Twitter engagement like he does. He says, did you not read the comments to your own tweet? And the reality is, sometimes I can't. This is not my day job. In fact, yesterday I was supposed to get a lot more done than I did. And so if I don't respond to your tweets, if I don't read them or respond to your messages right away, I'm so sorry about that. It's just if I made my living on YouTube and this kind of social engagement, I would do it. But I just don't. 90% of my income comes from another job. So anyway, so he's basically what he's saying is, I didn't read one tweet that responded to my comment, and so therefore I'm a Holocaust denier. That's where this has gone so far. So, but as you can see, he's calling me pathologically dishonest, all while framing this completely wrong. I never evaded a question about Holocaust denialism. I evaded a question about someone's beliefs that I was unaware of. I don't know who this person is, nor do I know he hasn't at this point. He hasn't quote tweeted it. He hasn't tagged me in anything. He hasn't screenshotted it. He hasn't shown me anything about what he's actually referring to here. Here's a little zing. Unlike Gospel Coalition, my Twitter engagement isn't a complete wasteland. I have a full-time job, so lots of tweets and both friendly and antagonistic get missed. So I don't read every response to my tweets. Okay, so he senses an opportunity here. I'm answering straight questions, right? So he asks me another straight question. He says, why do you claim that Gospel Coalition supports critical theory when we published an article about the compatibility of critical theory and Christianity? Now, I want to draw your attention to this. If you've kind of zoned out because this is kind of like not your bag, start paying attention again. This is the new play, guys. This is the new play. Joe Carter's not the only one, but a lot of Big Eva people right now are coming out and saying, I was unclear about my beliefs on race, and I'm against critical theory and all this kind of stuff. And this is the new play, because what they're doing, if you notice these apologies about being unclear, they actually don't clear anything up. They apologize for their previous statements, but they don't apologize for which ones. And then oftentimes they'll even reaffirm white fragility, white privilege, white supremacy, all the buzzwords again. And so by name, they'll say, okay, I'm against critical theory, and then they'll say what they're for, and it's like key components of critical theory. This is the new play, and it certainly seems to me like they've had some kind of a meeting that this is going to be the new play, because they're all kind of doing it around the same time. By the way, this is nothing new. Matt Hall did this in the SBC puff pieces and stuff like that. So just be aware of that. You're going to see a lot of people say, I'm against critical theory. And that's good. It's good to be against critical theory, but you actually have to be against the components too, because obviously if I said I was against neo-Nazism, but I didn't like Jews and I think they should go to their own land, like obviously be like, yeah, but you still believe all the components of it. And that would be true if you deny the thing but then believe the main components of it. Like, what's the point? So this is the new play. But anyway, he asked me a straightforward question about this. Why do I do this? And because as is my custom, I will answer a straightforward question in a straightforward way. And I said this, I said, because I'm aware of the reality and frequently mention this in my content of rejecting an idea as a whole system, but accepting the objectionable parts of that system, some or even all of those parts. Gospel Coalition and its members do this on a regular basis. And again, Joe tries to reframe this. He says, I realize that you take issues with people that are more politically and theologically conservative than you are. There's no harm in that. But the harm is that you constantly slander people for attention and money. If you're truly a Christian, you will stop such behavior. Now, notice, he accuses me of slander. He's accused me of slander for money. And he hasn't actually given you any evidence of this. This is just something he said. And again, if you know anything about Joe Carter, you can't trust him to actually frame things correctly. If he has a problem with me slandering someone, show me the problem, because people have done this before and said, you shouldn't have said what you said about so-and-so. And what I do is I apologize for it right away. When I see it and I agree, yeah, you're right, that was wrong. I apologize for it. I've got videos on my channel apologizing for certain things like this. So this is something that, I take it seriously. But if you don't give me evidence of this, I'm not going to take it seriously, especially when your name is Joe Carter and you have a big problem with framing things. Anyway, he continues. He's very confused about why I didn't read the tweet that he's referring to. And it's weird that he's confused by that because he hasn't named the person and he hasn't quote tweeted it or screenshotted it. So it's like, why would you be confused? I don't know what you're talking about, right? He says, so you didn't even read it after I made reference to the comment on your tweet? And did you not think that equating Gospel Coalition, ERLC, and me with neo-Nazis was problematic? Or did you not understand what you wrote? And again, you see the framing here. Like he's still continuing this idea that I equated Gospel Coalition with neo-Nazis. I equated Joe Carter with neo-Nazis. I didn't do any such thing, obviously. Anyone who has a brain knows I didn't do that. But notice he still hasn't quote tweeted anything. Now, Capstone Report actually does quote tweet it. But I didn't know that at the time because it's, as you can see, this is a tweet that's unavailable. I took this screenshot and this tweet is not, so I just skipped it. I just assumed it was somebody else that had blocked me, right? That assumption was wrong in the most hilarious way, by the way. So I just assumed this is someone who had blocked me, so I didn't even bother with this. Oops, I'm sorry. And I said, Joe, you didn't reference to a tweet. You said something about a nameless, faceless follower. Stop trying to amend history. Just tell me which comment you are referring to. And stop making me guess. And then I responded to the second part. I said, no, I did not I don't think it's problematic in the slightest because I didn't do it. Because I didn't say that Gospel Coalition was equated with neo-Nazis. I didn't do that. I just said they were also spreading dangerous information, which they definitely are. So I'm not sorry for that. I don't think it's problematic because I didn't do it. Stop making things up, Joe. So I've asked Joe to stop making things up a number of times here, but he's continued. Now we're going to come back to this unavailable tweet in just a minute because at this point, I didn't realize what was going on here, but I'm about to figure it out. I'm about to figure it out. Okay. Here's where I respond to his issue about slander. I said, Joe, show me who I've slandered and how. I'll apologize. I've done it before on my channel, but here's the deal. You've slandered me here by telling Cosper I support Holocaust denial. Apologize right now. So I told Joe, I said, look, Joe, if you can show me who I've slandered and how, I'll apologize. But I'm showing you that you've slandered me specifically by the tweet where you told Mike Cosper that I support Holocaust denial. So please apologize for that. So what I'm doing is I understand, I get the whole thing about slander, but it goes both ways, right? All right. Here's Joel Askell coming to my defense. Thank you, Joel. He's saying you slandered him, and it's blindingly clear. You don't get to dictate the terms by which you repent for your sin. Now, we're going to talk about that in a minute, but Joe says, I didn't slander him. Robles initially refused how he say he felt about the Holocaust denial, claiming that Holocaust denial was a weasel word. What do I repent of? Now, guys, this is after I did answer his direct question about Holocaust denial, and I said I don't support people who are Holocaust deniers, nor am I a Holocaust denier. So he knows that, but he's still sticking with that he's right. But he's still lying about it too, because initially I didn't say it was a weasel word. I said the way he was asking about it was a weasel word. He was asking me about a specific follower's beliefs that I didn't know what he was talking about. So I say, you're still lying. That isn't what you said. You referred to a specific follower's opinion without naming him or quoting him. I didn't respond since I don't talk about things I don't know about. And then I ask him again, you need to repent of telling Cosper publicly that I support Holocaust deniers. Since I've publicly stated that I do not, now it's time you admit you said something about me that wasn't true in order to damage my reputation. Because that's really the point of this. Like calling someone a Holocaust denier or neo-Nazi, you're attempting to hurt them financially. You're attempting to hurt their job prospects. You're attempting to hurt their reputation. It's not going to work with me, but that's the attempt. He's trying to hurt me and my family. This is libel. There's no question about it. So I'm asking him to apologize again. But here's the terms of his. He's so stupid that he doesn't realize this tweet here. Not the laughing. That's my reaction. This tweet here actually shows how evil he's being, because here's what it says. He says, "I'll tell you what. I'll apologize if you publicly say that you deplore Holocaust denialism and neo-Nazism so much that you don't want such people as followers or donating to your Patreon account. If you do that, it will show I was wrong about you." So I've said I'm not a Holocaust denier. I've said I don't support Holocaust deniers. And he will apologize if I do everything he says. And so I laughed at him. This is the response. You ready for the response? This is the response. Oh, I can't get the GIF here because it's a photo. Well, it's the laughing response. Because I was laughing at this point. I seriously was, because this is preposterous. Number one, let me just say this outright. If neo-Nazis or Holocaust deniers are paying me money to see my videos about the law of God, about the gospel of Jesus Christ, about the unadulterated gospel of Jesus Christ that reconciles all peoples to himself, that we come to the same table, whether we're white, black, Puerto Rican, Chinese, Asian, whatever it is. If neo-Nazis are willing to pay me to hear that message, I'm fine. I'll take that money, because the reality is, I am not a neo-Nazi. I am not a Holocaust denier, and no amount of money will ever convince me to be either one of those things. Okay? The only thing that I'm after is the truth of God, right? And so I'll go wherever the truth of God leads, and that's that. And that's the kind of content I produce, because ask any of my patrons if I've ever asked them, hey guys, I know you guys are paying me a lot of money. Like, what should my beliefs be? I want to serve you guys. Like that. Like, it's never happened. It's never happened. I've had the same message, although the tone has changed, the same message from minute one on YouTube to today. So this whole idea that I'm being influenced by neo-Nazis secretly and Holocaust, it's just slander. And no, like what Joe doesn't understand is he knows he's in the wrong, but what he wants is to hurt me. He wants to hurt my Patreon account. He wants to hurt me in any way possible. He wants me to admit that I've had patrons that are secret Holocaust deniers and neo-Nazis and stuff like that, and I knew about it all the whole time, and I'm supporting them, and we're in cahoots. That's what he's trying to get me to do here. This is ridiculous. I'm not going to participate in this, and the reality is I've proven at this point that he's libeled me. I've shown you the screenshots where I answer his straightforward questions. I don't answer his weasel questions, because I'm not in the habit of doing that. And this is an admission that he should publicly apologize to me, but he wants to do it in a way that also brings me down to his level. It's not going to happen, Joe. I know you think everyone's a lightweight except for you, Joe. You're not as smart as you think you are. Anyway. So some people were telling me not to fall for his extortion, and I appreciate you guys trying to help me out, but there was no chance of me falling for his extortion. It's absolutely insane. Anyway, so here's my response to that after I laughed for a good 5 minutes to myself. I said, so Joe, let me get this straight. You will only repent of your documentable and public sin against me if I do what you want me to do. Have I got this right? The answer is no. But I want to make sure I understand you correctly. Very straightforward. So at this point, I still don't even know what really started this. I mean, obviously, I know I tweeted out that tweet about the Gospel Coalition article, but I'm still not sure who this follower is, right? This follower is, because he's never screenshotted it for me. He's never tagged me in the message itself. He hasn't done any of that. So I'm still kind of a little confused. What has happened here? Who is this follower that he wants me to denounce, or whatever it is that he wants me to do? And here is where I figured it out. It's like hours into this conversation where I figured it out. And the funny part is, he still doesn't show me. He still doesn't show me. He shows somebody else. This is the kind of man we're dealing with. He can't do it in a straightforward way. He tags somebody else in the tweet. And that person, because he wants to solve, you can see this guy Chandler, he's trying to solve this issue, right? He doesn't sympathize with Joe Carter, but he's trying to figure this out. He says, he's been asked 3 times to specify what comedy he's talking about, and he won't. He wants wiggle room. I know this is a big deal to call another Christian a weasel, but I'm doing it. He's a manipulative liar. So this guy Chandler tags me. He says this is the post that he's referring to. Now, if you notice, this is the unavailable post that somebody else had showed me earlier, the one that I skipped right over. If you remember, this is the, oops, sorry, I was trying to quickly go to it, but I can't. This is the same one that Capstone Report had showed me, but I just skipped over it because it was just an unavailable tweet. Do you know why this is unavailable? I looked into it. I thought I was blocked or something. I thought maybe Joe was blocked, and that's why I couldn't see it. This tweet by Armin Tamziraran is unavailable to me because I have this guy muted. And I don't really remember, at this point, I don't remember why I have him muted. So Joe Carter, I put on my Gospel Coalition glasses because this is a little bit out of character for me. I don't mute too many people, but I muted this guy. Joe Carter is accusing me of Holocaust denialism and supporting Holocaust deniers because I did not respond to a Twitter user who I have muted. So I didn't see his message, and I still haven't seen it at this point. So I went to his page. I unmuted him. And I know why I muted him. Because a lot of the things he said were trying to rile me up on this exact kind of an issue. At least that's how I interpreted it. So I muted him. Because, I'm trying to stay as distraction-free as possible sometimes. And I muted him. Now, I probably shouldn't have muted him because this is not the kind of guy I mute typically. Usually I just mute the people that are like radical middle of the road, like losers. So I unmuted Armin Tamziraran because, it's interesting. I got to make sure to keep my non-Holocaust denial bona fides going. So I got to respond to every one of his tweets. Otherwise, I'm a Holocaust denier, right, Joe? But this is hilarious. Like, he's accusing me of neo-Nazism and Holocaust denialism because I didn't respond to a Twitter user that I've had muted for I don't know how long. That's unreal. It's unreal. Pretty funny. All right. Okay, here's Joe spreading his other lie. Were you concerned about the unity of the church when Robles said that the SBC, the PCA were as dangerous as neo-Nazism? Now, if you remember the first tweet, I did not say that. Not only did I not say this, but I actually specifically called out the liberal sides of these organizations as spreading dangerous information, and I didn't even compare them to as dangerous as neo-Nazis or whatever. So you can see there's layers of lies here. Not only did I not say what he's saying, but I also specifically nuanced this more. I called the liberal sides of these organizations dangerous, not the organizations themselves. That would be silly. I constantly say on my YouTube channel that I love the SBC. I love the PCA. I just find a lot of the liberal elements very troubling. And that's that. So you can see like every tweet, like which tweet, you show me any of the tweets that I've shown you that don't contain at least one lie. Many of them contain 2 or 3 lies. There's like layers of propaganda here. It's quite amazing when you think about it. Let's continue. So, of course, my response to this Joe Carter tweet is just a laugh. I'll pay $10,000 right now to the man who can quote me saying this, because I know that nobody can quote me saying this. My money is safely in my Patreon account. Joe Carter. Oh, man. The tens of thousands of Nazi dollars that I've taken, it's safely in my account. Don't worry, Joe. Oh man, this is I missed that one. Okay. So then I said, Joe, you asked me in a straightforward, this is like the 3rd time I've said this, but he finally answered. I said, Joe, you've asked me in a straightforward way if I was a Holocaust denier or if I supported Holocaust deniers, and I answered in a straightforward way, no and no. That is all you get. And Joe, he just can't resist an opportunity to lie. And I'm sorry, I'm laughing about this, but it's actually kind of concerning. I mean, because we know that people whose language is lying likely has their father as the father of lies. So here's how he responds to this, because I did actually do this. I answered no to his questions in a straightforward way. I showed you the screenshot. And here's what he says. Here was your answer. Quote, I don't for 1 second trust a snake's definition of what qualifies for a Holocaust denial. This is one of the oldest tricks in the book for silencing people you don't like. Then this is his comment. You initially pretended not to understand what Holocaust denial meant. Now notice, 2 lies in this one, at least. 1, this is not my complete answer. 2, this is not what I'm referring to. I guess there's 3 lies, at least. This is not the straightforward question that I'm referring to. And 3, he's still misrepresenting when he asked me about this nameless, faceless follower. He didn't ask me about Holocaust denial. He asked me about this nameless, faceless follower's Holocaust denial, which I, again, did not trust him to frame correctly. So there's at least 3 lies in this 3-sentence tweet. And it's just ridiculous. He's trying to get me distracted. He's trying to trap me. But when you're dealing with Joe Carter, you just have to have a laser focus, right? You just have to continue to meet the lies with the truth. This is how you beat a wizard. And Joe Carter is a wizard of the highest order. This is a wizard spell, what he's trying to do here. Layering the lies on top of lies is very difficult sometimes to really see them all at once. There's at least 3 lies here. There's probably more. So I responded to this with a screenshot. Because a screenshot doesn't lie. So it's like, no, Joe, here is the answer in its entirety, you liar. And I just screenshotted no and no. And in the answer to his question, do you believe yourself or people who support the Holocaust? Do you believe yourself or support people that believe the Holocaust didn't happen or was overstated? I answered no to both of those things, which is very different than what he said I said, which was, I don't know what Holocaust denial is. You know what I mean? Like, that's actually not how it went down. Anyway, let's continue. So then I posted this screenshot. Here it is up here, where I answered his question. I asked him to issue an apology. And then he says this. Again, this proves that he saw the answer. He says, that was posted afterwards. Perhaps if you would simply respond on each thread instead of trying to generate more attention for yourself by responding with a new tweet, you'd be able to follow the conversation. But I'm done engaging with you. You've shown who and what you are. And so you can see, like, he's seen the tweet. He's seen my answer. And his rebuttal is, but that was posted later. And listen, I know I don't have a big brain like Joe Carter. I know I'm just a dum-dum, you know. But how would posting it later, when he asked the straightforward question instead of the weasel question, how would that change the truth value? Because the answers don't contradict. I've never said I don't know what Holocaust denialism is. What I said was I don't know what this follower said, so I'm not going to answer about what the follower said. How does the timing of it really matter at all? And furthermore, who have I shown myself to be? I've answered every straightforward question in a straightforward way. I've asked for apologies, but he's done engaging with me. Like, what is the game here, right? What is the game here? He has not backed down from any of his lies, even though they've been shown and documented to be lies. This is not like a matter of opinion. He asked me if I was a Holocaust denier. I said no. He asked me about a follower's Holocaust denialism, and I said I didn't know about it because I didn't know the follower, because I had the follower muted for I don't know how long, but at least a few weeks. By the way, sorry, follower, I'm going to unmute you. So it's just like, what's the game here? What is the game here? This is bizarre. Why wouldn't he just say, I'm sorry for saying that about you, but I just think you're a little too cozy with too many Holocaust deniers? Like, I wouldn't have even responded to that because it wouldn't have been worth my response, because I don't know what he means by too cozy. And furthermore, prove it. Prove it. He knows he should apologize because he said, I will apologize if you do everything I say and delete your Patreon account, whatever. Like, no. Anyway, so I responded, oh yeah, this is just, look at this. Like, people were seeing this. They were seeing how he's mixing up my words and twisting them. This is the response someone just gave to this false claim where I said the SBC and the PCA were as dangerous as neo-Nazis. I didn't say that. This person says, well, he actually only referenced the liberal half of these organizations, but I even didn't even say that. So it's like, yeah, this is one of the lies, but you see every Joe Carter tweet is layered in lies. So like Nate, he got one of the lies, but there's more lies here. So thanks, Nate, for defending me. But like, you got to understand, like, there's layers of lies here. And that's Joe Carter's game. He layers the lies so you respond to one of them, and then in his twisted weasel snake brain, if you only respond to one of the lies, then the other lies are now true. That's why he layers the lies. This is propaganda of the highest order. Joe, where did you go to propaganda school? I'd like to know. So let's continue. Oh, what happened here? Let's continue. I'm going to have to find another way to do this. Sorry about this. This is very difficult. Okay. Oh, yeah. So again, people are seeing what's going on, you know, and he consistently, because he's a propaganda expert, he's consistently reframing this. This is Nate again defending me. Thanks, Nate. I appreciate this. He's saying, you don't get to dictate the terms of your apology. And Joe is insisting that he has nothing to apologize for because I pretended to not understand what Holocaust denial meant. Remember, I never did that. I never did that. The only thing I said I did not understand what it meant was a specific follower's version of Holocaust denial, which again, I don't trust Joe Carter to frame anything correctly. So I don't know. At that point, I didn't know what he said. So I didn't know how to answer. I mean, it's just that simple. It's just that simple. All right. Here we go. So then, let's see here. Oh yeah, this is again. I want you to understand that like I'm not just the only one seeing this stuff. Like here's Rhett Koppel saying he's literally trying to get you to assume a false premise in every comment he makes. This is the reframing. This is why so many people understand when you talk to Joe Carter, he's trying to trap you every moment. He puts 4 or 5 lies into a tweet, and then you respond to a couple of them that, in his mind, justifies the other lies. It's like he says, this guy, Rhett, it's high-level stuff. For instance, when he says his dishonest framing of your response to the article was a very simple question when it wasn't a question at all, which itself is framing. So he's referring to his very first tweet to me. He doesn't actually ask me a question, but Joe claims that he asked me a question. Everything is reframing. Everything is propaganda with Joe. Here's Joe Carter trying to make his recanting of error conditional. I have to tell everyone I don't want anyone giving me money if you support anything nefarious. And he's saying he should just apologize for saying that I was a Holocaust denier, which I said I definitely was not. And Joe Carter says, no, why should I apologize about it if I was not wrong about him? So this is the end of the conversation. This is toward the end of the day. He's still insisting that I'm a Holocaust denier and that I support Holocaust deniers. And my response is simple, again, focused on the issues. I've demonstrated in written words that are still available on Twitter and screenshotted them for your big brain that you were wrong about me. So he's just like, what do you have to do to prove to Joe that you're not a Holocaust denier? Anyway, and then, of course, this is my veiled threat here. You think you're done engaging me, but I promise you are not. Have a nice day. And this is not over, Joe. This is not over. We're going to talk about this more. And it's going to be hilarious to see how you defend yourself here. Because I don't think you're actually capable of apologizing. Oh yeah, this is you can see that the lies. This is why I'm taking this further, because again, like for me, like I don't care what Mike Cosper thinks about me. I just don't care. It's unbelievable. So Mike Cosper here is saying Holocaust deniers in my mentions right now, anonymous trolls in my mentions right now, and this is all referring to me and people that were defending me, right? I'm anonymous. I'm a Holocaust denier. I understand. But you see, the lies have legs, right? So people will certainly believe this about me and people that are associated with me, and I don't want that. I don't want people associated with me to be associated with these things. And so I'm taking this to the next level. I'm going to do everything in my power to get Joe to admit that he lied about me. He lied about me. And it's just that simple, because I don't want him to continue doing this. I don't want him to think that he's got carte blanche to do this. I don't want Joe to get the idea that all you have to do is block people and delete your tweets and you can get away with anything. This is something that Joe Carter has done again and again and again and again. He deletes tweets that are offensive. He deletes lies about people, and then he continues the lies, so you can't follow the conversation and prove that it's a lie. This is his MO. This is his MO, and I think that we need to do something about this. Now, I don't know if his church is willing to do what they need to do, and that's fine. I'll take it as far as I can go. But I think, one thing this video proves is that there are certain people in Big Eva, and Joe Carter is definitively one of them, that are not to be trusted in any capacity. This is an executive pastor. This is the editor of the Gospel Coalition. My friends, this is a made guy. And if he'll call me a Holocaust denier without any evidence, and then in contrast to the evidence, so like every piece of evidence that he has actually shows him that I am not a Holocaust denier. I've specifically said I'm not. I specifically have said I don't support Holocaust deniers or people who think that the Holocaust was less serious than it was or whatever like that. Like, I don't think that instantly sends you to hell, but I also don't support it myself. He asked me, I answered. Anyone who's willing to take that evidence and say, no, but you're still a Holocaust denier, is not to be trusted. This is why that picture of Joe Carter as a lizard, I keep posting it, because he's a snake. Joe Carter is a snake. He lies like people, it's hyperbole a lot, but some people will talk about how someone just lies so naturally, just like their language is lies. But guys, like, I left out maybe five screenshots that I have. So I pretty much posted every screenshot that I have. And I defy you to find one of those screenshots that he wasn't lying in. Like, this guy's language is lying. That's a terrible look for a pastor. And everybody can see it, Joe. Everybody who's willing to look can see it. And now a lot more people are going to see it, because this video is going to go up, and I'm going to title it Gospel Coalition Editor, Libels, something like that. And because I'm going to tie this to your organization, because you're an editor of that organization. And your organization is known for this kind of behavior as well. You're just a little bit more clumsy than most people. Joe Carter, I know you think that you're big brain, you know what I mean? You're big brain and you just slay the dum-dums all day. And then when you sober up from the euphoria of slaying dum-dums on the internet, then you delete all the evidence. I know that's your MO. Like, you probably should lay off the sauce a little bit. This. I'm not saying you're a drunk, but like, you get high on slaying dum-dums on the internet, right? That's your thing. I'm more conservative than you. I'm more accomplished than you. I've got more credentials than you. You get off on that stuff and you're like drunk with the euphoria. You should probably lay off a little bit. In fact, you should probably delete your Twitter account, because it's causing you to get in trouble so often, because the deleting of the tweets and stuff like that, and your woe is me, I shouldn't have engaged in this conversation. It's a sin to engage in conversation. Like, maybe you should chop off your right hand. How about that, Joe? See, that would actually make my life a lot less fun, because I quite enjoy your tweets, which of course I can still see, Joe. You blocking me doesn't really help. But for your own sake, for your own soul, you should probably delete your account, because it causes you to sin quite often. It allows you to lie just with such ease to so many people, because like, when you lie to thousands of followers, like, it just compounds the lie, doesn't it? Like, I would delete your account. And I might take a break from editing the Gospel Coalition as well. I mean, your articles, they just get worse and worse. They're more and more slanderous every day. They're more and more untrue every day. It's just like, it's a pattern with you, Joe. You should probably stop that. And if people were in your life that cared about your soul, they probably would tell you to stop that. And so, I care about your soul. I care about your soul. And so I'm going to take this further. It's not going to end here, because I'd like you to stop doing what you're doing. I'd like you to stop lying like as if it's your natural language. I'd like that to happen. And so we're going to talk about this. I know you think you're done engaging with me, but I assure you, you are not. Have a nice day, Joe. I hope you found this video helpful, everybody. Please, if you ever decide to engage with Joe Carter, make sure you screen cap everything. Make sure you capture everything, because it will be deleted at some point, because this is his MO. This is how a snake operates. Joe Carter is one of the most obvious snakes, maybe ever. Maybe ever. Oh, man. Anyway, I hope you found this video helpful.